Lila, a young girl, searches for hope. A political star with a story of struggle is ready to share her experience. This encounter will stay with you forever. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. On a balmy evening in the Bronx, the golden glow of streetlights bathed a lively street corner. Tucked between a bodega's colorful awning and a weathered laundromat, a cozy family cafe hummed with life. At an outdoor table, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known to most as AOC, sat unassumingly. Dressed in a simple white tee and jeans, a light scarf loosely draped over her shoulders, she blended into the neighborhood's rhythm. Her dark hair was pulled into a casual bun, far from the polished congresswoman often seen on TV. Sipping an iced coffee and skimming notes on her phone, she seemed at ease, but the Bronx rarely grants its icons a moment of true quiet. From the dim mouth of a nearby alley, a small figure stepped into the light. A girl, barely 13, barefoot, clutching a tattered backpack. Her name was Lila. Her messy brown hair framed a face etched with exhaustion beyond her years. She paused a few steps from AOC's table, her gaze flickering with uncertainty, as if wrestling with whether to speak. Excuse me, she said at last, her voice soft but resolute. OC glanced up, her brow furrowing in gentle surprise. Lila fidgeted with her backpack strap, her fingers restless. "Do you know who Jesus Christ is?" she asked. The question landed like a stone in still water, rippling through the hum of passing cars and snippets of street chatter. AOC's hand, holding her coffee, paused midair. She studied Lila, her eyes tracing the girl's wary expression. Innocence tangled with something heavier, something unspoken. "Why do you want to know?" AOC asked, her tone warm and open, setting her phone down carefully. Lila shrugged, shifting her weight uneasily. "I hear people mention him," she mumbled. "I just don't know who he is. Do you?" AOC sensed the weight behind the question, a quiet plea wrapped in a child's curiosity. She leaned back, her arms crossed, her gaze steady on Lila. The girl seemed so fragile, her thin frame hunched under an invisible burden. This wasn't just a question, it was a search for something deeper. "I do," AOC said softly, her voice calm but certain. "Want to talk about it?" Lila's eyes flickered. Maybe hope, maybe doubt. But she quickly hid it behind a guarded frown. She hugged her backpack tighter. "What's he like?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. AOC paused, struck by the question's simplicity and its vastness. She glanced around. A few passers-by slowed, their curiosity piqued by the exchange. The cafe's small terrace felt intimate, yet exposed, as eyes lingered from the sidewalk. She gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Why don't you sit?" Lila hesitated, her gaze darting to the chair, then back to AOC, as if expecting a catch. After a moment, she edged forward and perched on the seat's edge, her body tense, ready to flee. "I'm no preacher," AOC began, her voice gentle but steady. "But to me, Jesus was someone who stood up for fairness. He was there for the people everyone else ignored, saying they deserved a shot, no matter who they were." Lila stared at the scratched tabletop, her finger tracing its grooves. "A shot?" she murmured, almost to herself. "Yeah," AOC said, leaning in slightly. "A chance to be more than what others see in you. Don't you ever feel like you need that?" Lila didn't answer right away. Her lips pressed tight, her eyes fixed on her hands. "Sometimes," she whispered, "but I don't think chances are for people like me." AOC's expression softened, but her voice held firm. "Why would you say that?" she asked, her words a quiet challenge to Lila's doubt. Lila shrugged, still avoiding her gaze. "I've messed up, done things I'm not proud of. People look at me and see nothing. No one's handing me a clean slate." OC listened, her face a mix of empathy and resolve. She tapped the table lightly. "You know," she said, her tone reflective, "I felt that way too." Lila's head snapped up, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You?" she asked, her voice tinged with skepticism. "Me?" OC said, a faint, bittersweet smile crossing her lips. I grew up right here in the Bronx. Waitress to pay bills while I studied. There were days I felt like I was drowning, like I'd never find my way. But I learned it's not about your mistakes. It's about believing in yourself, in others, in something bigger. Lila's brow furrowed, as if trying to piece together a puzzle. And people just let you start over? She asked, doubtful. It wasn't that simple, AOC admitted. It took time, hard work, and people who had my back. Friends, family, community. But every step was worth it. Lila nodded slowly, her guarded expression softening. What made you keep going? She asked, her voice quieter now. AOC's gaze drifted upward, where the city's glow blurred with the fading sunset. I saw how tough it was for everyone around me, she said. My mom worked 2 jobs to keep us going. I knew if I didn't push for change, nothing would get better. For me, for her, for anyone. Lila absorbed her words, the weight of them sinking in. But the moment was broken by a murmur from nearby. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the quiet intensity of their conversation. A man in a hoodie, a couple with takeout cups, an older woman with a grocery bag. All lingered, catching fragments of the exchange. Lila glanced at them, her shoulders tensing. AOC noticed but stayed focused, her voice steady. See, she said, speaking just to Lila. Sometimes when you feel alone, the world shows up. People notice. They feel it too. Lila scoffed, her tone sharp. They're just eavesdropping, she muttered. Maybe, AOC said with a shrug. Or maybe they're searching for what you are. Hope, purpose, a reason to believe things can change. Lila's expression softened, her skepticism wavering. Do you really believe that? She asked. That things can get better? For anyone? I don't just believe it, AOC said, her voice firm. I know it. The older woman from the crowd stepped closer, her grocery bag crinkling. Excuse me? She said softly. Are you talking about faith? OC turned to her with a warm smile. Yeah, she said. And how it can pull you through the hardest times. The woman's face softened, her eyes misty. That's exactly what I needed to hear, she said, her voice barely audible. Lila watched, her tension easing as the woman's words seemed to echo her own longing. She leaned forward slightly. What if you don't know how to begin? She asked, her voice small. What do you do? AOC met her gaze, her tone steady. You start right where you are with what you've got. Even if it's just a question, that's enough. Lila fell quiet, her fingers still on the table, her eyes distant. Then, almost in a whisper, she asked, have you ever felt so lost you couldn't see a way forward? Like, it doesn't even exist. OC's face shadowed briefly, a flicker of old pain in her eyes. She nodded. Yeah, she said softly. There were nights I thought I'd lost everything. My dreams, my hope. But I learned there's always a path, even when it's hidden. Lila's voice trembled. That's how I feel, every day. The street's noise seemed to fade, the moment narrowing to just them. AOC leaned closer, her voice soft but unyielding. You're wrong, she said. The way is there. You just haven't found it yet. And there's someone out there who cares. Even one person can be enough. Lila looked up, her guarded walls cracking. How can you be sure? She asked, her voice barely audible. AOC paused, her fingers brushing her coffee cup. Because I've been there, she said. I hit rock bottom, but my family, my community, they held me up. That's what kept me going. Lila's brow creased. Who was it for you? She asked. AOC's smile was soft, almost wistful. My mom, she said. She never gave up, no matter how hard it got. Before Lila could respond, a voice broke in. You've been through a lot, the man in the hoodie said, his tone respectful. AOC glanced at him, then at the growing crowd. We all have, she said. It's not about what you've been through. It's about what you do with it. You can let it define you, or you can let it shape you. Lila's eyes glistened, her defenses crumbling. She wiped her face with her sleeve. What if you're too broken? She whispered. What if it's too late? AOC's gaze softened, but her voice was firm. No one's too broken, she said. Your scars are part of you, but they're not all of you. What matters is what you choose now. Lila shook her head, gripping her backpack tightly. You don't know what it's like, she said, her voice cracking. Feeling like no one sees you, like you're nothing. OC leaned in, her eyes locked on Lila's. I see you, she said, and you're not nothing. You're enough. Lila's breath caught, and for a moment, she seemed torn between fleeing and staying. But AOC's words held her there, steady and sure. She stared at her hands, her voice trembling. What do I do? How do I even start? AOC reached into her bag, pulling out a small notepad. She tore off a sheet and jotted down an address. There's a shelter a couple blocks away, she said, sliding the paper across the table. They can help you get started. It's not easy, but it's a step. And if you need to talk, she added a phone number. Reach out. Okay? Lila stared at the paper, her hands shaking as she picked it up. You'd really do that? She asked, her voice thick with disbelief. Without a doubt, AOC said. Someone was there for me when I needed it. Now it's my turn. Lila clutched the paper, a faint spark of hope in her eyes. A belief, however fragile, that she wasn't invisible. But the moment was interrupted. I didn't expect to see this tonight, the man in the hoodie said, glancing between them. It's powerful. AOC smiled faintly. It's not about power, she said. It's about showing up for each other. Sometimes people just need to know they're not alone. The man nodded, stepping back. Lila glanced at the crowd, their attention no longer intimidating. She sat taller, as if realizing she was seen. Turning to AOC, she said softly, Thank you for seeing me. For all of this. AOC nodded. You've got this, she said. One step at a time. Don't give up. Lila stood, her movements slow but deliberate. The crowd parted as she walked away, her barefoot steps steady against the pavement. Some watched her go, their faces reflecting the weight of the moment. OC leaned back, exhaling deeply. She picked up her coffee, now lukewarm, her thoughts lingering on Lila's question and the memories it stirred. The older woman from the crowd approached. That was something special, she said, her voice soft. You gave us all hope. OC gave a thoughtful nod. Sometimes the smallest moments mean the most, she said. That girl reminded me how much a single question can carry. The woman smiled, brushing away a tear. Not everyone takes the time to listen like that. She'll carry this with her always. As the crowd thinned, OC lingered, watching Lila's silhouette fade into the evening's glow. The paper she'd given her was just a scrap, but it could be everything to someone searching for a start. She hoped Lila would hold tight to it. Not just the address or number, but the idea that someone cared. The streetlights burned brighter, casting long shadows across the cafe. AOC stood, leaving a generous tip, and headed for the subway. Her heart felt lighter, lifted by Lila's courage, the crowd's quiet witness, and the reminder that even in the Bronx's chaos, hope finds a way. In the subway car, Lila's words echoed. What if you're too broken? No one's broken forever, OC murmured to herself. That's what hope does. To those reading this story, pause and reflect. We never know what someone's carrying, but a kind word, a moment of listening, a recognition of their worth can change everything. Be that spark. If this story moved you, share it with others and explore more tales of compassion, struggle, and connection. These moments remind us what truly matters.